The coffee in Elena Russo's travel mug had gone cold 2 hours ago, but she kept sipping it anyway. Bitter and lukewarm felt appropriate for a Tuesday morning that had started with an eviction notice taped to her apartment door and would end with her teaching sign language to a community center full of kids whose parents couldn't afford to pay. She didn't mind the not paying part. That's why she'd taken the job at Harbor Community Center in the first place. But the landlord minded very much that her rent was 3 weeks late, and the electric company had sent their final warning yesterday, and her car was making a noise that sounded expensive every time she turned left. Elena pushed through the center's front doors at 8:45, 15 minutes early as always. The building smelled like industrial cleaner, and the burnt coffee that Mrs. Chen made every morning in the staff room. Home, or as close as she'd gotten in the decade since her brother Dante died. "Elena! Jackie!" The receptionist waved frantically from behind her desk. "Thank God, there's a situation." Elena's stomach dropped. If you're enjoying this story so far, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Drop a comment telling me where in the world you're watching from. I love hearing from you. Situations at Harbor Community Center usually meant funding cuts or program cancellations. What kind of situation? The expensive kind. Jackie lowered her voice even though the lobby was empty. There's a man in Linda's office. Showed up 20 minutes ago. No appointment. With 2 other guys who look like they eat nails for breakfast. Says he needs to speak with our best ASL instructor immediately. Linda can handle inquiries. He specifically asked for you. By name. Jackie's eyes were wide with concern and curiosity. Elena. This guy is wearing a suit that probably costs more than my car. And the men with him? She made a gesture that clearly meant dangerous. Elena's pulse quickened. She'd worked hard to build a quiet life here in Boston, far from the chaos of her childhood in Brooklyn, far from the memories of watching her little brother Dante struggle in a world that refused to learn his language. Nobody from her past knew where she was. Nobody dangerous anyway. Did he say what he wants? Just that it's about his daughter. That she needs help, and someone told him, "You're the person to ask." Jackie stood up, smoothing her cardigan. "Elena, I know you've got your reasons for keeping a low profile, but this man, he's not the kind you say no to." Elena thought about the eviction notice, about the $2,847 in her checking account that needed to cover rent, utilities, groceries, and that expensive car noise. She thought about her brother's face the first time someone had bothered to sign to him properly, the way his whole world had opened up. If there was a child who needed help, she couldn't walk away. She never could. "Okay," Elena said quietly. "I'll talk to him." Linda's office was at the end of the hall, past the bright murals painted by last summer's youth program. Through the frosted glass door, Elena could see shapes. Linda sitting behind, her desk, rigid with tension. A man standing near the window, backlit by morning sun. 2 larger figures flanking the door like sentries. Elena knocked twice and entered without waiting for permission. The man at the window turned, and the first thing she noticed was his eyes. Dark, intelligent, carrying the kind of weight that came from seeing too much and feeling too deeply. He was maybe 38 or 40, tall and lean, in a charcoal suit that probably cost what Jackie had guessed. His dark hair was graying at the temples, and there was a scar above his left eyebrow that told stories he'd never share willingly. But it was his hands she focused on. They were clenched into fists at his sides, knuckles white with tension. The hands of a man barely holding himself together. "Mr. Valentino," Linda said, her voice pitched higher than normal. "This is Elena Russo, our ASL specialist." The man's eyes locked onto Elena with an intensity that made her want to step back. Instead, she held her ground and extended her hand professionally. "Mr. Valentino, I'm told you need help with your daughter." His handshake was firm but brief, his palm slightly rough. Working hands, despite the expensive suit. "Dominic," he said. His voice was low, controlled. "Call me Dominic. And yes, my daughter Isabella. She's 7. She was born deaf." Elena nodded, pulling out the chair across from Linda's desk and sitting down. If he wanted to intimidate her by standing, he'd have to work harder than that. "Tell me about her." Dominic's jaw worked for a moment, like the words cost him something. The 2 men by the door shifted slightly, hands clasped in front of them in the universal stance of security personnel, or bodyguards. "Bella doesn't talk," Dominic said finally. I mean, she can't hear, so she doesn't speak, but she doesn't sign either. Not really. She makes gestures, pulls at my sleeve when she wants something, but nothing formal. Nothing that helps her tell me what she's thinking or, have you hired tutors? Elena asked gently. ASL specialists? Deaf educators? 6 of them. Dominic's voice tightened. 6 different tutors in 2 years. She won't engage. She throws things, runs away, locks herself in her room. The last one quit after Bella dumped a pitcher of juice over her head. Elena almost smiled at that, catching herself just in time. Sounds like Bella has a strong personality. She has her mother's spirit. Dominic turned back to the window, staring out at the street below. My wife died 2 years ago. Cancer. It was fast, and it was brutal. And Bella watched her mother disappear piece by piece. Since then, she's been angry. At the world, at me, at everyone who tries to get close. The pain in his voice was so raw that Elena felt it in her chest. She'd heard grief before, had carried her own since Dante died. But this was fresh. This was a man still bleeding from a wound that wouldn't close. Mr. Valentino Dominic, I'm sorry for your loss, but I need to be honest with you. If 6 trained specialists couldn't reach Bella, I'm not sure what makes you think I can. He turned back to face her, and there was something almost desperate in his expression. Because you're different, I asked around. People at the deaf community center downtown, teachers at the school for the deaf in Cambridge, they all said the same thing. If there's a difficult case, if there's a child who won't respond to traditional methods, Elena Russo is the one who breaks through. They said you don't just teach sign language. You understand why kids shut down. Elena's throat tightened. Who told you my name? Doctor. Sarah Chen, at Boston Children's Hospital. She said you used to volunteer there before budget cuts eliminated the program. She said you have a gift for reaching the unreachable. Sarah. Of course. Elena had worked with her for 3 years, helping deaf and hard-of-hearing kids navigate the medical system. It had been the best work of her life, until the hospital had gutted the program and she'd ended up here, scraping by on a salary that barely covered rent. Doctor. Chen is kind, but she's exaggerating. I don't think she is. Dominic took a step closer, his voice dropping. Miss Russo, my daughter is disappearing inside herself. She spends hours staring out the window, drawing pictures she won't show me, crying silently in her room because she doesn't think I can hear her. I'm losing her, and I don't know how to stop it. The pain in his words cut through every professional boundary Elena had. She knew that feeling. She'd watched Dante disappear into himself before the end, too exhausted from fighting for basic dignity to keep trying. I'll meet her, Elena said quietly. 1 session. No promises. If Bella doesn't respond, I walk away, and you find someone else. Relief flooded Dominic's face so completely that he looked 10 years younger for a moment. Thank you. Name your price. Elena thought about the eviction notice, about the mounting bills. Community center rate is $40 an hour. Dominic pulled out his wallet and counted out $200 bills, setting them on Linda's desk. That's for 20 hours, paid in advance. If you need more, you tell me. Elena stared at the money. $2,000. That's too much. It's not enough. Dominic's voice was firm. My daughter's worth more than any amount I could pay. Will you come to our home, or should I bring her here? Elena's instincts screamed that going to his home was a bad idea. The bodyguards, the expensive suit, the way Linda looked, terrified, all of it pointed to danger. But children did better in familiar environments, especially traumatized children. I'll come to you, Elena said. But I need to establish some ground rules. When I'm with Bella, I'm in charge. No hovering, no interference. You tell me what I need to know about her routine, her triggers, her likes and dislikes, and then you let me work. Dominic nodded immediately. Agreed. Whatever you need. And if she throws juice on me, I'm not quitting. Tantrums are communication. They tell me what she's feeling when she doesn't have words. Something shifted in Dominic's expression. Respect, maybe, or hope. When can you start? Elena glanced at Linda, who looked like she wanted to object but didn't dare. I have classes this afternoon, but I'm free tomorrow morning. 9 o'clock? Perfect. Dominic pulled out a business card and wrote an address on the back. This is my home in Beacon Hill. The gate code is 4721. Vincent will meet you at the door. He gestured to one of the bodyguards, a man with graying hair and watchful eyes. Elena took the card, noting the Beacon Hill address. One of Boston's most exclusive neighborhoods. Old money, historic brownstones, the kind of place where she definitely didn't belong. I'll be there, she said. Dominic extended his hand again, and this time his grip was warmer. You, Miss Russo, you have no idea what this means to me. Elena, she corrected. If I'm going to help Bella, we're not standing on formality. He smiled, small but genuine. Elena, I'll see you tomorrow. After Dominic and his security detail left, Linda slumped in her chair like a puppet with cut strings. Do you have any idea who that was? A father who needs help with his daughter. Elena. Linda's voice dropped to a whisper. That was Dominic Valentino. As in the Valentino family. As in Boston's North Side, the waterfront. Half the construction contracts in the city. Elena's stomach dropped. You're saying I'm saying his family has been connected for 3 generations. I'm saying the FBI probably has a file on him thicker than a phone book. I'm saying you just agreed to go to his house alone. The room seemed to tilt slightly. Elena gripped the edge of Linda's desk. He's a father who lost his wife and is watching his daughter suffer. That's all I need to know. That's not all you need to know if you're walking into his world. Linda stood up, genuine concern on her face. I can't stop you, but please be careful. Men like Dominic Valentino? They're dangerous, even when they're being kind. Elena looked down at the money on the desk. 20 crisp $100 bills that could solve 3 months of problems. She thought about Bella, a 7-year-old girl locked in silence, angry and alone and drowning in grief she couldn't express. She thought about Dante, and how he'd smiled the first time someone signed good morning to him like he was worth the effort. I'll be careful, Elena said, but I'm going. A child needs help, and I can give it, Linda sighed. You're either the bravest person I know, or the most foolish. Both, probably, Elena said, picking up the money with trembling hands. Definitely both. That night, Elena stood in front of her bathroom mirror, practicing signs she hadn't used in years. Her brother had been gone for 11 years, but her hands still remembered every gesture they'd shared, every joke, every argument, every late-night conversation when the world felt too big and too cruel. I miss you, Dante, she signed to her reflection. I wish you could tell me if I'm making the right choice. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Thank you for giving Bella a chance. Tomorrow could change everything. Elena stared at the message, then at her reflection. She looked tired, worn down by years of barely surviving. But beneath the exhaustion, there was still the girl who'd learned sign language to save her brother, who'd fought teachers and doctors and insurance companies to get him the care he deserved. That girl was still in there, and she'd never walked away from a child who needed her. Okay, Dante, she whispered. One more time. Let's see if we can save someone. She turned off the light and went to bed, but sleep wouldn't come. Somewhere across the city, in a Beacon Hill, brownstone, a 7-year-old girl was staring out a window, trapped in silence. And tomorrow, Elena would try to build a bridge across that terrible quiet. She just hoped she wouldn't drown in the crossing. The morning arrived cold and gray, typical October in Boston. Elena dressed carefully, choosing jeans and a soft sweater in deep blue, comfortable but professional. She pulled her dark hair back into a simple ponytail and skipped makeup except for chapstick. Kids responded better to people who looked approachable, not polished. She threw her materials bag into her aging Honda Civic, wincing at the grinding noise when she turned the key. The left turn sound had gotten worse. Another problem for another day. The drive to Beacon Hill took 20 minutes through morning traffic. Elena's hands tightened on the steering wheel as she navigated the narrow streets lined with historic brownstones, gas lamps, and brick sidewalks that had witnessed 3 centuries of Boston history. This was a different world from her cramped apartment in Allston, where the walls were thin and the neighbors played music until 2 a.m. Dominic's address led her to a 4-story brownstone with black shutters and window boxes that probably held flowers in spring. The gate code worked, and she parked in a small courtyard behind the building, next to a black Mercedes and a Range Rover that both looked fresh off the lot. Before Elena could knock, the back door opened. Vincent, the gray-haired bodyguard from yesterday, stood in the doorway. Miss Russo. Right on time. His voice was gravel and cigarettes, his eyes assessing her in 2 seconds flat. Mr. Valentino is waiting inside. I'll take you to him. The interior of the brownstone was exactly what Elena expected. High ceilings with crown molding, hardwood floors that gleamed with fresh polish, artwork that probably cost more than her yearly salary. But there were also signs of life, a child's, drawings held to the refrigerator with magnets, small shoes by the door, a stuffed rabbit sitting on a chair in the hallway. Dominic met her in what appeared to be a study, lined with bookshelves and dominated by a massive mahogany desk. He looked less polished today, dressed in dark jeans and a gray sweater, his hair slightly mussed like he'd been running his hands through it. Elena, thank you for coming. He gestured to a leather couch near the fireplace. Can I get you coffee? Water? I'm fine, thank you. I'd like to talk about Bella before I meet her. Dominic settled into the chair across from her, and Elena noticed the dark circles under his eyes. This was a man who wasn't sleeping well. What do you need to know? Elena pulled out a notebook. Everything. Her routine, her favorite things, what calms her down, what sets her off. Does she have any other communication methods besides gestures? Does she draw, write, use any assistive technology? She draws constantly. Dominic's knew. Expression softened. Pictures of her mother mostly, or the ocean. We have a house on Cape Cod that she loved when she was younger. Before Maria died, we'd spend summers there. Does she still go? I haven't taken her back since the funeral. I thought it would be too painful. Elena made a note. Sometimes returning to happy places helps with grief processing. What about school? She's been homeschooled for the past year. I hired a tutor who knows some basic sign language, but Bella mostly works alone. The tutor gives her assignments. Bella completes them or doesn't, and I sign off on the paperwork. Dominic's jaw tightened. It's not ideal, but the alternative was watching her suffer in a school where nobody understood her. What about other children? Does she have friends? No. She's isolated by choice. When I try to arrange playdates or activities, she refuses to leave her room. Elena processed this, building a picture of a child trapped in grief and isolation, unable to express what she was feeling, punishing the world for her loss by withdrawing completely. What happened with the tutors? Specifically, what triggered Bella to act out? Dominic leaned forward, elbows on his knees. The first one tried too hard. She was cheerful, energetic, kept trying to make Bella engage with games and songs. Bella threw her workbook across the room and locked herself in the bathroom for 3 hours. And the others? The second one was too rigid. Everything had to be done exactly right. Perfect hand shapes, perfect syntax. Bella started breaking her own fingers, not badly, but pulling them back until they hurt, like she was punishing herself for not being good enough. Dominic's voice cracked slightly. I fired that one after 2 days. Elena's heart clenched. The third? Too sympathetic. She kept saying things like, you poor thing, and it must be so hard being deaf. Bella stopped eating for 3 days in protest. She doesn't want pity. No. She wants... Dominic stopped, searching for words. I don't know what she wants. I can't reach her. She looks at me sometimes like I'm a stranger, like she's waiting for me to disappoint her the way everyone else has. Elena closed her notebook and looked directly at Dominic. Here's what I think. Bella isn't broken or damaged. She's a 7-year-old girl who watched her mother die and now lives in a world where nobody speaks her language. Not her teachers, not the tutors, and not you. She's not refusing to learn sign language. She's refusing to trust anyone enough to let them teach her. Dominic's eyes glistened. How do I fix that? You don't. I do. Elena stood. Where is she now? Her room. 3rd floor, end of the hall. She knows you're coming. I told her last night that someone new would visit today. He stood as well, hovering uncertainly. Should I introduce you? No. I go alone. Give me 2 hours without interruption. I don't care if you hear crying or shouting or things breaking. Unless I call for you, you stay away. Understood? Dominic nodded. Understood. But Elena, be patient with her. She's not trying to be difficult. She's just hurting. I know. Elena's voice softened. I've been where she is. I understand. She left Dominic in the study and climbed the stairs alone, her materials bag over her shoulder. The 3rd floor was quieter, insulated from the sounds of the street below. At the end of the hall, a door decorated with painted butterflies stood slightly ajar. Elena knocked 3 times, deliberately hard so the vibration would carry through the wood. Then she pushed the door open and stepped into Isabella Valentino's world. The room was beautiful walls painted soft lavender, a canopy bed with white curtains, shelves full of books and toys. But what caught Elena's attention was the art covering every surface. Drawings taped to the walls, spread across the desk, tucked into the mirror frame. All of them showed the same woman, dark hair, warm, smile, holding a little girl's hand. Bella's mother. Captured over and over in crayon and marker and colored pencil, as if drawing her enough times could bring her back. And in the middle of the room, sitting cross-legged on the floor with her back to the door, was Bella herself. Small for 7, with dark curls like her father, and delicate features that would break hearts when she was older. She wore jeans and a purple shirt with butterflies on it, and she was drawing another picture, her hand moving with fierce concentration. Elena didn't speak. Instead, she sat down on the floor 10 feet away from Bella, pulled out her own sketch pad and colored pencils, and began to draw. She drew a garden with flowers and trees, a fountain in the center, butterflies dancing in the air. She didn't look at Bella, didn't try to engage. She just drew, letting the silence settle between them like something comfortable instead of threatening. 5 minutes passed, then 10. Finally, Bella's head turned, slightly, enough to see Elena from the corner of her eye. She didn't stop drawing, but her attention was split now between her own work and the stranger sitting in her room. Elena finished her garden and started a new drawing, a girl with dark curls standing in the garden, reaching up toward the butterflies. Bella's hand stilled on her paper. Elena added details: the girl's purple shirt, her small hands, the expression on her face that was equal parts wonder and sadness. Bella turned fully now, staring at Elena with wide brown eyes that were old for 7, eyes that had seen too much. Elena set down her pencils and signed slowly, clearly, "Hello. My name is Elena. What's yours?" Bella's eyes tracked the movement of Elena's hands, recognition flickering. She knew sign language when she saw it, even if she didn't use it herself. "I know your name is Isabella," Elena continued signing, "but I bet you like Bella better." The girl's expression didn't change, but something shifted behind her eyes. Surprise, maybe, that this stranger knew her preference. "I'm not here to teach you," Elena signed. "I'm here to learn from you. I want to know what you're drawing, what you're thinking, what makes you angry and sad and sometimes maybe a little bit happy." Bella stared at her for a long moment. Then, very slowly, she reached for the drawing she'd been working on and held it up. It showed a woman lying in a bed, her face thin and tired. A little girl stood beside the bed, reaching for the woman's hand. Above them both, dark scribbles covered the top of the page like storm clouds. Elena's throat tightened. She'd seen enough of Dante's final days to recognize a hospital room, a dying parent, a child trying to say goodbye. "That's your mama," Elena signed. "She looks beautiful." Bella's eyes filled with tears, but she didn't look away. "The storm clouds," Elena continued signing. "Are they how you feel inside?" Bella nodded once, sharp and quick. "Me too," Elena signed. Her hands moved to form new words, pulling from memories she usually kept locked away. "My little brother died when I was 18. He was deaf like you. His name was Dante, and for a long time after he died, I had storm clouds inside me too." Bella's whole body shifted toward Elena, attention fully captured. "Do they ever go away?" Bella signed back, the movements clumsy but understandable. "The storm clouds?" Elena's breath caught. Bella could sign. She'd been able to all along. She'd just been waiting for someone who understood that some things were too big for small hands to express. "They get smaller," Elena signed honestly. "Some days they're just little clouds. Other days they're big and dark, but they don't stay forever, and eventually, you learn to live with them." Bella considered this, then signed again. "Everyone lies. They say it gets better, but they're wrong. It just gets different." "You're right," Elena signed back. "It does get different. But different isn't always bad. Different means you're changing, growing, becoming someone new. Someone who remembers your mama but isn't stuck in that hospital room anymore." Bella's tears spilled over, tracking down her cheeks silently. She dropped the drawing and signed with trembling hands. I forget her voice. I never heard it anyway, but I forget what her hands felt like, what her hugs felt like. I'm forgetting her, and I don't want to. Elena moved closer, slowly, giving Bella time to pull away if she needed to. But the girl didn't move. She just sat there crying, her small shoulders shaking. You're not forgetting her, Elena signed. You're carrying her with you. Every drawing you make, every memory you hold, that's her living inside you. She's not gone. She's just different now. Bella launched herself forward, wrapping her arms around Elena's neck and sobbing against her shoulder. Elena held her, this small, broken girl who'd been drowning in silence, and let her cry. No words, no signs, just presence and permission to finally let the storm clouds rain. Downstairs, Dominic Valentino paced in his study, checking his watch every 30 seconds. It had been an hour, and he'd heard nothing. No shouting, no objects hitting walls, no footsteps running away. Vincent stood by the door, arms crossed. Boss, you need to calm down. The woman knows what she's doing. You don't know that. I know she got further in 1 hour than 6 tutors did in 2 years. Vincent's voice was matter of fact. Give her time. Another 30 minutes crawled by. Then finally, footsteps on the stairs. Light, slow. Elena appeared in the doorway, her materials bag over her shoulder. Her eyes were red, and there was a small, wet spot on her sweater shoulder. Dominic was on his feet instantly. Did something happen? She's fine. Better than fine. Elena's voice was soft but steady. She's sleeping now. She cried for 20 minutes, signed for 10, and then fell asleep against my shoulder. I laid her in bed and covered her with the butterfly blanket. She signed? Dominic's voice cracked. Actually signed? She's been able to sign this whole time. She just didn't trust anyone enough to try. Elena set down her bag. Bella isn't refusing to communicate. She's protecting herself from more disappointment. She's tired of people pitying her, trying to fix her, treating her like she's damaged. She needed someone who understood that grief isn't something you solve. It's something you survive. Dominic sank back into his chair, covering his face with his hands. His shoulders shook slightly, and Elena realized he was crying. This powerful man, this crime boss with blood on his hands according to Linda, was breaking down in front of her because his daughter had finally opened up. Vincent looked away politely, giving his boss privacy. Elena waited, giving Dominic the same space she'd given Bella. Some emotions needed to run their course. Finally, Dominic looked up, wiping his eyes roughly. What do you need from me? 3 sessions a week, 2 hours each. I'll work with Bella on expanding her ASL vocabulary, processing her grief, and rebuilding her confidence. But you need to learn too. Elena pulled out a beginner's sign language book and set it on the desk. Every night, you practice for 30 minutes. By the end of the month, you'll be able to have basic conversations with your daughter. Dominic picked up the book like it was precious. I'll practice every night. I swear. And we need to talk about school. Bella needs interaction with other deaf children, other people who speak her language. She needs to know she's not alone in this world. There's a school for the deaf in Cambridge. Horace Mann. I know it well. I think Bella would thrive there, but we need to work up to it. Right now, she's too raw. Give me 6 weeks to build her trust and confidence. Then we'll visit the school together. Dominic nodded eagerly. Whatever you think is best. Elena stood to leave, then paused. One more thing. Bella's room is full of drawings of her mother. That's healthy. That's grief processing. But she also needs to start drawing other things. Happy things. I suggested she draw the ocean, since you mentioned Cape Cod. She perked up at that. I'll take her this weekend. Dominic stood as well. Elena, I don't know how to thank you. Help me thank her by learning her language. That's all the thanks I need. As Vincent walked Elena to her car, the bodyguard spoke quietly. You're good for them, both of them. The boss, he's been drowning since Mrs. Valentino died. Bella was just the most visible casualty. Elena looked back at the brownstone, at the 3rd-floor window where a little girl slept peacefully for the first time in months. He loves her very much. That's clear. He'd burn the world down for her. Vincent's voice was matter of fact. You should know that about him. Whatever you need to help Bella, it's yours. Money, resources, protection. Your family now. Family. The word sent a chill down Elena's spine. She barely knew these people, barely understood what Dominic's world really involved. But she'd made a promise to a grieving child, and she'd never broken a promise to a kid who needed her. "I'll see you Wednesday," Elena said. "Same time. We'll be ready." As Elena drove back through Boston's narrow streets, her phone buzzed with a text from Dominic. "Bella woke up and asked if you're coming back." She signed the question herself. "Thank you for giving me my daughter back." Elena smiled despite the exhaustion pulling at her bones, despite the fear whispering that she was getting too deep into something dangerous, despite every instinct screaming that Dominic Valentino's world would swallow her whole. She'd found Bella in the storm clouds, and she'd be damned if she'd let that little girl drown in them alone, even if saving her meant stepping into the darkness herself. 3 weeks passed, like pages turning, in a book Elena hadn't known she was writing. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, she drove to Beacon Hill and spent 2 hours in Bella's lavender room, watching a small girl emerge from her chrysalis of grief, one careful sign at a time. The breakthrough came on the second Wednesday, when Bella signed her first full sentence unprompted. "Can we draw the ocean today? I want to remember the good parts." Elena's hands had trembled as she signed back. "Yes. Tell me about the good parts." And Bella had. Halting at first, then with growing confidence, she signed about building sandcastles with her mother, about collecting shells at dawn, about the way the Cape Cod house smelled like salt and pine. Her hands painted pictures that words never could, and Elena captured every detail in her notebook, knowing Dominic would want to read them later. Because Dominic was learning. Not just learning devouring sign language like a man starving for connection with his daughter. He practiced every night. Like he'd promised, his large hands clumsy at first, but growing more fluid with each session. By the 3rd week, he could sign basic conversations. "How was your day? What do you want for dinner? I love you." If you're hooked on this story, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Your support means everything and helps me bring you more emotional stories like this one. Those 3 words, "I love you," had made Bella cry the first time Dominic signed them. Happy tears, healing tears. She'd thrown herself into her father's arms, and he'd held her like she was the only thing keeping him anchored to earth. Elena had watched from the doorway, her own eyes burning, and known she was witnessing something sacred, the rebuilding of a family from ash and silence. But it was the 4th week when everything shifted, when the carefully maintained professional distance Elena had constructed began to crumble. It was a Friday afternoon, and Elena had just finished her session with Bella. The girl was sprawled on her bed, drawing an elaborate underwater scene complete with mermaids and dolphins, her face peaceful in a way that still surprised Elena every time she saw it. "I'm heading out," Elena signed to Bella. "See you Monday? Can you stay for dinner?" Bella signed back, then added quickly, "Papa wants to practice signing with both of us. He made pasta. It's his special recipe." Elena hesitated. Staying for dinner felt like crossing a line, like becoming part of their family instead of a professional helping them heal. But Bella's hopeful expression made refusing impossible. "Let me check with your papa," Elena signed. Downstairs, she found Dominic in the kitchen, sleeves rolled up, stirring a pot of sauce that smelled like heaven, garlic, basil, tomatoes, red wine. He looked different here, less like the intimidating man who'd walked into Harbor Community Center, and more like a father who'd learned to cook because his wife was gone and his daughter needed feeding. "Bella invited me for dinner," Elena said, lingering in the doorway. "I told her I'd check with you first." Dominic looked up, and something warm flickered in his dark eyes. "I was hoping you'd stay. I've been practicing all week, and I want to show you I'm not completely hopeless at this." "You're not hopeless. You've learned more in 4 weeks than most people learn in 6 months. I'm motivated." Dominic's voice softened. "Every new sign I learn is another way to talk to my daughter. Another way to understand what she needs." Elena moved into the kitchen, drawn by the warmth and the smell and something she couldn't quite name. "What are you making?" "Sunday gravy, that's what my mother called it, though we eat it on Fridays now." Tomato sauce simmered for hours with meatballs, sausage, pork ribs. It was Maria's favorite. He paused, his hand stilling on the spoon. "I haven't made it since she died. Couldn't bring myself to. But Bella asked for it last night, and I figured it was time. That's a big step. A lot of things are changing." Dominic met her eyes. "Good changes. Because of you." The air between them suddenly felt charged, weighted with something Elena wasn't ready to name. She looked away, focusing on the sauce bubbling in the pot. I should set the table. Vincent already did. He's joining us, he always eats with us on Fridays. And Mrs. Chen, our housekeeper. She's been with the family since before Bella was born. They're like family. Dominic turned off the heat and wiped his hands on a towel. Fair warning, they're both going to interrogate you. About? Everything. You're the first person outside our immediate circle that Bella's responded to in 2 years. They're protective. Elena squared her shoulders. I can handle protective. Dinner was served in a formal dining room with a crystal chandelier and paintings that looked old enough to belong in a museum. But the atmosphere was anything but formal. Vincent told stories about Dominic's childhood misadventures that made Bella laugh silently, her shoulders shaking with mirth. Mrs. Chen, a tiny Chinese woman with iron-gray hair and sharp eyes, asked Elena pointed questions about her qualifications while heaping seconds onto her plate. And Dominic signed throughout the entire meal, translating for Bella, asking her questions, telling her stories. His movements were still imperfect. He fumbled the sign for helicopter and accidentally signed angry elephant instead, but Bella didn't mind. She corrected him patiently, her small hands shaping the proper signs, and Dominic followed her lead with absolute focus. Elena watched them together and felt something crack open in her chest. This was what Dante should have had. A family who learned his language, who fought for him instead of pitying him, who saw him as whole instead of broken. You're crying, Mrs. Chen said quietly, setting down her fork. Are you all right, dear? Elena wiped her eyes quickly. I'm fine, just happy. Bella's come so far. So has he, Mrs. Chen nodded toward Dominic, who was showing Bella how to sign delicious properly. I haven't seen him smile like that since Maria passed. You've given him more than his daughter back. You've given him hope. The weight of those words settled over Elena like a mantle. She'd come here to teach a child sign language. Somewhere along the way, she'd started rebuilding a family. And the terrifying part was how right it felt, how much she looked forward to her sessions with Bella, how her heart lifted when she saw Dominic's progress. After dinner, Dominic walked Elena to her car while Bella helped Mrs. Chen with dishes, a Friday night tradition, he explained. Thank you for staying, Dominic said as they crossed the courtyard. The October air had turned crisp, carrying the smell of wood smoke from neighboring brownstones. It meant a lot to Bella, to all of us. Your Sunday gravy was incredible. Maria had good taste. Dominic smiled, but there was sadness in it. She had the best taste. In food, in music, in everything except men. She could have done better than me. I doubt that. You don't know me, Elena. Not really. Dominic stopped walking, his hands shoved deep in his pockets. You know the father who's trying to connect with his daughter. You don't know what I do, the choices I've made, the life I live outside these walls. Elena's pulse quickened. They'd been dancing around this for 4 weeks, the unspoken acknowledgement of who Dominic really was. I know enough. Do you? His voice dropped. Do you know that Vincent carries a gun everywhere? That Mrs. Chen reports to me about everyone who comes near Bella? That this house has more security than most government buildings? I've noticed the cameras, the gate, the way Vincent watches everyone who walks past. Elena met his eyes. I'm not naive, Dominic. I know your family has connections. I know your world is dangerous. But that doesn't change why I'm here. And why are you here? The question was soft, but there was an edge to it. Really? Is it just about Bella? Elena's breath caught. The honest answer was no. It hadn't been just about Bella for at least 2 weeks now. It was about the way Dominic's face lit up when he successfully signed a complex sentence. The way he looked at his daughter like she hung the moon. The way he'd asked Elena about her brother with genuine interest. Listening to stories about Dante for an hour after one session. But saying that out loud felt like stepping off a cliff. It's about helping a family heal, Elena said carefully. That's always been my mission. Dominic studied her face for a long moment, and Elena had the unsettling feeling he could see right through her careful deflection. You're a terrible liar. I'm not lying. You're not telling the whole truth either. He took a step closer, his voice dropping to something almost intimate. I see the way you look at Bella, like she's not just a student but something more. I see the way you light up when she makes progress, and I see... He stopped himself. What? Elena's voice came out barely above a whisper. I see the way. You look at me sometimes, When you think I'm not paying attention. Like you're trying to figure me out. Like maybe you're starting to care about more than just your professional obligations. Elena's heart hammered against her ribs. Dominic, I'm not asking you to feel anything, he interrupted gently. I'm just telling you that I notice. And I want you to know that you're not alone in this. Whatever this is becoming. The air between them felt electric. Elena knew she should step back, should maintain boundaries, should remember that this man lived in a world that could destroy her. But she couldn't move. Couldn't look away from his dark eyes that had seen too much, and still somehow held tenderness. I should go, Elena managed. It's late. Elena. Dominic caught her hand, his grip warm and careful. Be careful driving. The roads get slick this time of year. It was such a mundane thing to say, such a normal expression of concern. But coming from him, it felt weighted with everything they weren't saying. Elena nodded, not trusting her voice, and pulled her hand away gently. She was halfway across the courtyard when Dominic called out. Monday, same time? Elena looked back. He stood in the doorway, backlit by the warm glow of the house, looking more human than dangerous. Same time, she confirmed. She drove home with trembling hands, her mind replaying every moment of the evening. The way Bella had beamed at her over dinner. The way Vincent had nodded approvingly when she'd answered Mrs. Chen's questions. The way Dominic had looked at her like she was something precious. This was getting complicated. This was getting dangerous in ways that had nothing to do with organized crime and everything to do with her traitorous heart. Monday arrived with the first real cold snap of the season, the temperature dropping into the 40s, and the sky heavy with the threat of early snow. Elena layered a thick cardigan over her sweater and braced herself for another session. She'd spent the weekend convincing herself to maintain professional boundaries, to remember that she was Bella's teacher and nothing more. But the moment Vincent opened the door and Bella came running down the stairs, signing, "You're here! You're here!" all of Elena's carefully constructed walls crumbled. The session went well. They worked on complex sentence structures, on expressing emotions beyond the basics, on the vocabulary Bella would need for school. The girl was absorbing language like a sponge now, her confidence growing daily. Halfway through the session, Bella signed something that made Elena's breath catch. "Can I call you Elena, Mama?" Elena's hands froze mid-sign. "What?" "Not Mama like my real Mama," Bella clarified quickly, her small face anxious. "But like a second Mama, someone who takes care of me and teaches me and makes me feel safe. Is that okay? Or is it weird?" Elena's throat tightened. She thought about all the professional boundary texts she'd read, all the advice about maintaining distance. But she also thought about Bella's face, open and hopeful, and so desperate for connection. "It's not weird," Elena signed back, her hands trembling slightly. "It's an honor. But maybe just Elena for now? We don't want to confuse anyone." "Okay. But in my heart, you're Elena, Mama." Elena pulled Bella into a hug, blinking back tears. This child had burrowed into her heart completely, and Elena knew with certainty that she'd do anything to protect her. Anything. When Dominic knocked on the door at the end of the session, Bella ran to him and signed excitedly about their progress. Elena watched them together, seeing how much had changed. Dominic understood maybe 70% of what Bella signed now, and when he missed something, he asked her to slow down and repeat instead of pretending he understood. "Can I talk to you?" Dominic asked Elena once Bella had run off to show Mrs. Chen a new drawing. Privately, Elena's stomach clenched. Something in his tone was different, more serious, more weighted. "Of course." They went to his study, the same room where they'd first talked about Bella. Dominic closed the door and gestured to the couch, but he didn't sit. He paced instead, his hands running through his hair in a gesture Elena had learned meant he was agitated. "What's wrong?" Elena asked. "Is it Bella? Did something happen?" "No. Bella's thriving, thanks to you." Dominic stopped pacing and faced her directly. "This is about something else. About the reality of my world and how it's about to become your problem." Elena's pulse quickened. "What do you mean?" "There's a family, the Morellis. They run the South Side. Control the shipping routes, I don't. We've had a truce for 5 years. Ever since Maria got sick and I pulled back from expansion. But lately they've been testing boundaries. Small things at first, encroaching on territory, undercutting my contracts, approaching my associates. Why are you telling me this? Dominic's expression was grim. Because yesterday, one of my men reported that the Morellas have been asking questions about you. Who you are, why you're coming to my house 3 times a week, what you mean to my family. They're looking for leverage, Elena. And they've identified you as a vulnerability. The room seemed to tilt slightly. I'm just Bella's teacher. You're more than that, and they know it. They've been watching long enough to see that you're important to Bella, which makes you important to me. Dominic moved closer, his voice dropping. I need to increase your security. Vincent will start following you discreetly, but consistently. We'll install a panic button in your car, and I want you to move out of that apartment in Alston. Whoa. Hold on. Elena stood up, her heart racing. You can't just reorganize my entire life because some rival family is asking questions. I can when those questions lead to threats. And they will, Elena. The Morellas play dirty. If they think hurting you will hurt me, they'll do it without hesitation. Then maybe I should stop coming here. The words hurt to say, but Elena forced them out. If my presence is putting Bella in danger, you're not putting Bella in danger. They won't touch her, she's a child, and even the Morellas have lines they won't cross. But you? Dominic's jaw tightened. You're an outsider with no family connections, no protection. You're exactly the kind of target they look for. Elena wrapped her arms around herself, suddenly cold. I don't want this. I just wanted to help a little girl. I know, and I'm sorry. Dominic's voice softened. But you're in this now, whether we like it or not. The only question is whether you let me protect you or you try to face this alone. Why do you care so much? The question burst out before Elena could stop it. Really? I'm just an employee. Don't. Dominic's voice turned sharp. Don't diminish what you are to this family. Bella calls you Elena Mama when she thinks I can't see. She draws pictures of the 3 of us together. She asks me every night if you're coming back, like she's afraid you'll disappear. He took a breath, visibly steadying himself. And I... What? Elena whispered. I look forward to Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays more than I've looked forward to anything in 2 years. I practice signing every night, hoping I'll impress you. I make excuses to be in whatever room you're in. I think about you when I should be thinking about business. Dominic's eyes locked onto hers. So no, Elena, you're not just an employee. You haven't been for weeks. The confession hung in the air between them, raw and honest and terrifying. Elena's mind spun, trying to process what he was saying, what it meant, what she was supposed to do with this information. I don't know what to say, she managed finally. You don't have to say anything. I'm not asking for a response. I'm just being honest about why your safety matters to me, about why I can't sit back and let the Morellas target you. Dominic moved closer, close enough that Elena could see the flecks of gold in his dark eyes. Please, let me protect you. Let me make sure nothing happens to you. Elena thought about Bella, about the progress they'd made, about the little girl who called her Elena Mama in her heart. She thought about Dominic's earnest face as he practiced signing every night. She thought about Friday dinners and the way this family had started to feel like hers. And she thought about her brother Dante, who died because the world refused to protect vulnerable people, who'd needed advocates and found indifference instead. She wasn't going to abandon Bella. Not for fear, not for danger, not for anything. Okay, Elena said quietly. Tell me what I need to do. Relief flooded Dominic's face, so completely that he looked years younger. Thank you. Vincent will brief you on security protocols tomorrow. For now, park in the courtyard whenever you visit. The gate stays locked. And Elena? His hand caught hers, his touch warm and grounding. I won't let anything happen to you, I promise. Elena nodded, not trusting her voice. Because she was starting to realize something terrifying. She trusted Dominic Valentino completely. This man who lived in shadows, who made decisions she probably didn't want to know about, who controlled territory and influence through means she could only imagine. She trusted him. With her safety, with Bella's heart, maybe even with her own heart. And that was the most dangerous thing of all. The next 3 weeks passed in a strange new rhythm. Elena moved through her days hyper-aware of Vincent's presence, always 2 cars back when she drove, always in the cafe when she grabbed coffee, always watching. At first it felt intrusive, suffocating. But gradually, she began to find it comforting. She wasn't alone anymore. She had backup. Bella's progress accelerated. The girl was reading sign language books now, watching deaf vloggers on YouTube, absorbing language and culture with voracious appetite. She talked about visiting Horace Mann School for the Deaf, about making friends who understood her, about becoming a teacher herself someday. Like you, Elena Mama. Bella signed during one session, the nickname slipping out naturally now. I want to help kids like me. Elena's heart swelled. You'll be amazing at it. But the shadow of the Morellis hung over everything. Dominic had stopped mentioning them directly, but Elena noticed new security measures appearing. Cameras added to her apartment building's entrance. A panic button installed in her car that connected directly to Vincent's phone. A new phone with encrypted messaging that Dominic insisted she use. Paranoid much? Elena had joked when he'd given her the phone. Careful much? Dominic had corrected, his expression serious. There's a difference. It all came to a head on a Wednesday in early November. Elena arrived at the Pay, brownstone as usual, parking in the courtyard, gathering her materials. She was halfway to the door when Vincent appeared, moving faster than she'd ever seen him move. Inside. Now. His voice was clipped, urgent. What's wrong? Morelli's men were spotted 2 blocks from here. 3 cars, coordinated movement. They're doing reconnaissance. Vincent's hand was on her elbow, propelling her toward the door. Boss wants you inside until we clear the area. Elena's heart hammered as Vincent practically dragged her into the house. Inside, the atmosphere was different, tense, charged. Mrs. Chen was hustling Bella upstairs, the girl's eyes wide with confusion and fear. Dominic stood in the foyer, phone to his ear, his voice low and dangerous. I don't care what it takes. Find them and make it clear they don't come near my home, ever. He hung up and turned to Elena, his expression shifting from cold fury to concern in an instant. Are you okay? I'm fine. What's happening? The Morellis are making their move. They're not being subtle anymore, this was a message. They wanted us to know they can get this close. Dominic's jaw clenched. Vincent, take Elena to the safe room with Bella and Mrs. Chen. Nobody leaves until I give the all clear. I'm not hiding in a safe room, Elena said. Bella needs to see that I'm not scared. Elena. She's already terrified. If I run and hide, that confirms her worst fears. Elena squared her shoulders. I'll stay with her, keep her calm, but I'm not treating this like an emergency that will traumatize her further. Dominic stared at her for a long moment, something unreadable flickering across his face. Then he nodded slowly. 3rd floor. Stay away from windows. Vincent stays with you. And Elena? His voice dropped. Thank you. For thinking of her first. Upstairs. Elena found Bella curled on her bed, signing frantically. What's happening? Why is everyone scared? Did I do something wrong? No, baby. You didn't do anything. Elena sat beside her, gathering the trembling girl into her arms. There are some bad people who want to scare your papa, but he's handling it, and we're safe here. I promise. Are you staying? I'm not going anywhere. What if they hurt you? What if they hurt Papa? Elena's throat tightened. She thought about lying, about offering false reassurances. But Bella deserved honesty. Your papa is very strong and very smart. He has people protecting him. And Vincent is protecting us. Elena pulled back enough to sign clearly. But yes, there's danger. There's always danger in your papa's world. That's the truth. But here's another truth. I'm not leaving you. No matter what happens, I'm not leaving. Promise? I promise. Bella buried her face in Elena's shoulder, and they sat like that for what felt like hours. Vincent stood by the door, his hand never far from the weapon Elena could now see, clearly holstered at his side. Mrs. Chen brought tea and cookies, her face drawn but calm. And, downstairs, Dominic made phone calls that Elena didn't want to understand, his voice carrying the weight of decisions that would have consequences she couldn't imagine. 2 hours later, Dominic appeared in Bella's doorway. It's handled. They're gone. Bella ran to him, and Dominic swept her up, holding her tight. Over his daughter's head, his eyes found Elena's. Thank you, he signed with one hand. Bella still clutched in his other arm. For staying, for keeping her calm. Elena nodded, unable to speak past the emotion clogging her throat. When Bella finally released her father, she signed. Elena Mama promised she won't leave, even with the danger. She promised. Dominic's eyes widened slightly, catching on the Elena mama that Bella had used so naturally. His gaze shifted to Elena, questioning. Elena lifted her shoulders in a helpless shrug. She hadn't encouraged the nickname, but she hadn't discouraged it either. Because somewhere in the past 8 weeks, Bella had stopped being a student and become something infinitely more precious. Elena mama, Dominic repeated softly, not signing, just speaking the words like he was testing how they felt. Then his hands moved, signing directly to Elena. You complete our family. The room fell away. Mrs. Chen, Vincent, even Bella seemed to fade. There was only Dominic's dark eyes and his hands forming words that Elena had been terrified to hope for. You complete our family. Not just you're helping us. Not you're important, but complete. As in, they'd been broken, and now they were whole. As in, she fit into the space between them perfectly. As in, this was no longer professional. This was no longer temporary. This was forever, if she was brave enough to claim it. Elena's hands trembled as she signed back. You've changed my life. Both of you. Dominic moved closer, his expression intense. Elena, I know this is complicated. I know my world is dangerous. But I need you to understand something. His hands moved as he spoke, including Bella in the conversation. Bella needs you. I need you. This family needs you, and I'm begging for you to stay, not just as Bella's teacher. As part of our family. Really, truly, part of us. What does that mean? Elena signed, her heart hammering. It means I'm falling in love with you. Dominic's voice was rough, honest. It means I think about you constantly. It means watching you with my daughter is the best part of my day. It means I want to protect you, provide for you, build a life with you. He paused. If you'll let me. Bella's head swiveled between them, her eyes wide. Then her hands moved excitedly. Does this mean Elena mama can live with us? Really live with us? That's up to Elena, Dominic said softly, his eyes never leaving Elena's face. Elena's mind spun. This was insane. She'd known this man for 2 months. His world was dangerous, his life complicated. Getting deeply involved meant accepting risks she couldn't fully comprehend. But she thought about Bella's face lighting up every time Elena arrived. She thought about Dominic practicing sign language every night, his determination to be a better father. She thought about Friday dinners and inside jokes and the way this family had wrapped around her heart. She thought about her brother Dante, who'd taught her that love meant fighting for people even when the world made it difficult. I'm scared. Elena signed honestly. So am I, Dominic signed back. But I'm more scared of losing you. Elena looked at Bella, at this little girl who'd called her Elena Mama, who'd trusted her with storm clouds and ocean drawings and her fragile, healing heart. Then she looked at Dominic, at the man who'd learned an entire language to talk to his daughter, who'd opened his home and his heart to a stranger because she'd shown his child kindness. Okay, Elena said aloud, then signed it so Bella would understand. I'll stay. I'll be part of your family, Bella squealed silently, jumping, up and down. Dominic's expression transformed into something Elena had never seen before, pure, undiluted joy. He closed the distance between them and pulled her into his arms, holding her like she was precious, like she was home. Elena melted into his embrace, letting herself believe that maybe, just maybe, broken families could rebuild themselves into something even stronger. Behind them, Vincent cleared his throat. Boss, I hate to interrupt, but we need to discuss security protocols if Miss Elena is staying. Later, Dominic said, not releasing Elena. Let me have this moment. Mrs. Chen smiled from the doorway. I'll make up the guest room. Guest room, Elena said quickly, her face flushing. Let's not scandalize Vincent more than necessary, Vincent snorted. Takes more than that to scandalize me. Bella tugged on Elena's sleeve. Does this mean you're my real Elena Mama now? Not just in my heart? Elena crouched to Bella's level, her eyes burning. Real as it gets, sweetheart. If you'll have me. Bella threw her arms around Elena's neck, and in that moment, Elena knew she'd made the right choice. Dangerous or not, complicated or not, this was where she belonged. This was her family now. All she had to do was survive the storm coming to claim it. Elena moved into the Beacon Hill brownstone on a gray Saturday morning in mid-November. She didn't have much. A decade of living paycheck to paycheck meant her possessions fit into 12 boxes and 3 suitcases. Dominic had sent Vincent and 2 other men to help, but Elena insisted on packing herself, needing the ritual of sorting through her old life before stepping fully into her new one. By noon, Elena's belongings were installed in the guest room on the 2nd floor, a space larger than her entire former apartment, with tall windows overlooking the courtyard and furniture that probably cost more than her car. Mrs. Chen had already stocked the dresser with fresh linens and the bathroom with toiletries. "This is too much," Elena said, standing in the doorway and feeling overwhelmed. "This is family, Mrs." Chen corrected, folding towels with precise efficiency. "And family takes care of each other. You'll learn." Bella appeared in the hallway, practically vibrating with excitement. "Can I show you my favorite places? The library, the garden, the window seat where Mama used to read to me?" Elena's heart clenched at how naturally Bella included her mother's memory now, no longer treating it like a wound that couldn't be mentioned. "I'd love that." They spent the afternoon exploring the brownstone together, Bella's small hand in Elena's as she narrated the history of each room. Every memory included Maria now. Bella had stopped running from her mother's ghost and started inviting her into conversations, keeping her alive through stories and signs. That evening, Dominic cooked his 2nd Sunday gravy in as many weeks, and the dining table was set for 4. The warmth, the laughter, Vincent's dry commentary, this was family. Chosen, complicated, built from grief and determination. After Bella went to bed, Elena found Dominic in his study. They talked about boundaries, about Elena's need for time to process her feelings, about the ongoing reality of his dangerous world. He offered her honesty instead of false promises, and Elena found herself trusting him more for it. 3 weeks passed in deceptive peace. Bella thrived, visiting Horace Mann School for the Deaf and making her first friend a girl named Sophie. Elena learned the household rhythms, becoming part of the family's daily life. But peace in Dominic's world was always temporary. The call came on a Tuesday night in early December. Elena was helping Bella practice reading when Vincent burst into the room without knocking. "Boss needs you. Now. Both of you. To the safe room." Elena's blood turned cold. "What's happening?" Morellis made their move. 3 of our warehouse locations hit, simultaneously. "This is coordinated, and it's big." Vincent's expression was grim. "Boss wants you secured before he leaves to handle it." Bella's face drained of color. "Papa's leaving? Into danger? He has to." Elena signed quickly, fighting to keep her own fear from showing. "But we'll be safe here. Vincent will protect us." They hurried downstairs to find Dominic strapping on a shoulder holster, his face carved from stone. Gone was the gentle father who practiced sign language at the dinner table. This was the other Dominic, the one who controlled territory through force. "Elena." He caught her hand. "You and Bella stay in the safe room until either Vincent or I come for you personally. No one else. What about you? Where are you going?" "To end this." Dominic's voice was cold. "The Morellis think they can attack my business while I'm distracted. They're about to learn that was a miscalculation. Dominic, be careful, please." His expression softened for just a moment. "If something happens to me, there are papers in my desk. Bella's guardianship goes to you. Don't. Nothing's going to happen. I hope you're right." He kissed her forehead, then signed to Bella. "I love you. Be brave. I'll be home soon. Promise? Promise." Hours crawled past in the safe room. Bella fell asleep from exhaustion in Elena's lap. Vincent stood guard, weapon drawn. Elena's phone buzzed with updates from Dominic terse, factual, keeping her informed without details. Dawn arrived cold and gray. Finally, the specific knock pattern came. Dominic stood in the hallway, bloodied and exhausted but alive. His suit jacket was torn, his knuckles raw, a cut above his eye. But he was alive. "Is it over?" "For now. The Morellis won't be a problem again. We came to an understanding." An hour later, cleaned and bandaged, Dominic explained what had happened. The Morellis had tried to hit his legitimate businesses, wanting to prove he wasn't untouchable. He'd reminded them why people had left him alone for 5 years. "Is it really over?" "Yes. They're leaving Boston. Permanently. It's done." Relief flooded through Elena. For the first time since she'd met Dominic Valentino, the threat hanging over them had lifted. The next 2 weeks were strange. The Morelli threat evaporated, but the memory of that terrifying night lingered. Then one evening, Dominic led Elena to the 4th floor, unlocking a heavy door. The room took her breath away. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Boston, and an art studio filling the space. Easels, paints, brushes, canvases everywhere. "Maria's studio," Dominic said softly. "I locked it up after she died. But Bella loves to draw, and you draw with her every session. Maybe it's time to open this space again. Let it be what Maria intended, a place for healing." "Dominic, this is beautiful." He pulled her close. "Elena, I need to tell you something. I'm in love with you. Not falling, not starting to. In love, completely. You saved us both." Elena's breath caught. "I love you too. I tried not to, but I fell completely in love with you. Can I kiss you?" "Yes. Please, yes." When they finally broke apart, Dominic said, "I want to marry you." Elena laughed breathlessly. "We've been dating for 30 seconds. I know what I want. I want you, permanently. I want us to be a real family." "Ask me at Christmas," Elena said. "Give me 3 weeks to be absolutely sure. Not because I don't know I do, but because this is too important to rush." Dominic smiled. "Christmas. I can wait 3 weeks." "And Dominic?" "The answer's going to be yes." Christmas Eve arrived wrapped in snow. The brownstone smelled like missus. Chen's cookies and pine from the tree Bella had insisted they decorate together. As evening approached, Dominic pulled Elena aside. "Walk with me?" They stepped into the snowy courtyard, Christmas lights twinkling from neighboring brownstones. 3 weeks ago you asked me to wait," Dominic began. "Have you decided?" "I have, and if you're about to ask me to marry you, the answer is yes." "Absolutely yes." Dominic dropped to one knee in the snow, pulling out a small box with a simple platinum band and diamond. "Elena Russo, you gave my daughter her voice and gave me hope. Will you marry me? Will you be Bella's mama and my wife and complete our family?" "Yes. Yes. 1,000 times yes." He slipped the ring on her finger and kissed her like his life depended on it. When they looked up, Bella was pressed against the window, signing frantically. They hurried inside. Bella launched herself at Elena. "You're staying forever?" "Forever and always. I'm your mama now, if you'll have me." "I've wanted that since the first day," Bella signed. "You're my family." Dominic wrapped his arms around both of them. "We want to make this official. Elena will legally be your mama through adoption. What do you think?" "Yes, more than anything. Then it's settled. We'll start the paperwork after New Year's." Later, after Bella slept, Elena and Dominic sat in his study with wine, watching snow fall past the windows. "Are you scared?" Dominic asked. "Terrified. I'm marrying into a world I don't fully understand, adopting a daughter I've only known for 4 months. And yet, I've never been more sure. You and Bella, you're my family. Whatever comes, we'll face it together." They sat watching the snow. Elena thought about the eviction notice 4 months ago, the desperation that had made her say yes to teaching one difficult child. She'd thought she was going to save Bella. Instead, Bella had saved her. Epilogue. SIX months later, June. Sun turned Boston Harbor golden as Elena stood on Dominic's boat, watching Bella and her best friend Sophie sign excitedly about dolphins they'd spotted. Both girls wore life jackets over their bathing suits, their faces bright with uncomplicated happiness. "They're going to be exhausted by the time we get home," Dominic said, appearing beside Elena with lemonade. "Worth it, though." They'd been married for 2 months, a small ceremony in the brownstone garden with only family and close friends. Bella had served as flower girl and sign language interpreter. The adoption had been finalized in April. Elena Russo Valentino was officially Bella's mother. "I have news," Dominic said quietly. "The final paperwork went through yesterday. I'm officially out." Elena's head whipped around. "Out?" As in Valentino Holdings is now entirely legitimate. Construction, real estate, import, export, all clean, all legal. I signed over the last of the old territory. I'm done with it. "Dominic, that's incredible. It's freedom, because of you and Bella." He pulled her close. "You gave me a reason to walk away. I want to be just Dominic, husband, father, businessman. Not the Valentino legacy." Elena kissed him fiercely. When they broke apart, Bella was watching with approval. Finally, Bella signed. "I've been waiting for Papa to tell you. He made me keep it secret for 3 whole days." Dominic laughed and pulled them both into a hug, his wife, his daughter, his family. As the boat cut through Boston Harbor toward home, Elena thought about the journey that had brought them here. A chance job offer, a grieving child, a father learning to communicate. 3 broken people who'd found each other and built something stronger than any of them could have created alone. "What are you thinking about?" Dominic asked. "How much has changed in less than a year? Last June, I had nothing. Now I have everything. We have everything, because we found each other." Bella ran over, signing rapidly. "Sophie wants to know if we can have a sleepover next weekend. Can she, please?" "Of course," Elena signed back. Bella squealed and ran back to Sophie. "She's so happy," Elena said softly. "Sometimes I look at her and can't believe she's the same girl who wouldn't sign, wouldn't engage, wouldn't let anyone in. That's because you showed her it was safe to hope again. You showed all of us." They stood together watching their daughter play with her friend, surrounded by the sparkle of sun on water and the promise of a future they'd built from ash and silence. Elena had come to the Valentino family to teach sign language. Instead, she'd learned what family really meant. Not the one you're born into, but the one you choose, the one that chooses you back, the one worth fighting for. "I love you," Elena signed to Dominic, then said it aloud. "Both languages. So you never doubt." "I love you too," Dominic signed back, his movements now fluent and natural. "In every language. Forever." As the boat headed toward shore and home, Elena felt the last piece of her old fear dissolve. She'd been terrified that choosing this family meant losing herself. Instead, she'd found herself the strongest, bravest version. She was home now. Finally, completely home. And she'd never let go of this family she'd been given. This family she'd earned. This family that had whispered through signs and words and fierce determination, "You complete us. You always did. Thank you so much for watching until the end." If you loved this story, check out the other videos on your screen now. I think you'll really enjoy them. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. See you in the next story.